Okay. Okay. But I'm not hearing his impact. No, you're not hearing. But they'll be listening. Okay. Okay. Our program shall run as below. We shall have an opening prayer, and then introductions, welcome remarks by ED Nature Uganda, and then opening remarks by Commissioner Wetlands, and then keynote address in by Wachitibwa from Buganda Kingdom, and we shall have 4 presentations following, and then a plenary. We shall have discussions, and then we close. So without wasting time, let me call on a volunteer to open this dialogue with a word of prayer. Thank you.
Let's have a word of prayer. Our kind and precious Father, we thank you for the gift of life. God, we thank you that we are here. We thank you that you've enabled us to move from where we've been to this place. Lord, we thank you that we are here in the country, Uganda, where we love our country, where we are supposed to show patriotism and everything. God, as we aim at conserving the environment, staying calm with all whatever is in this environment and on this planet, send your Holy Spirit to come and guide us. Whatever we are going to discuss, whatever we are going to do, let you be amidst everything we are going to talk about. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you.
We are going to go clockwise. We shall introduce ourselves, those who are inside the room. The ones online, you will introduce yourself as you contribute to the dialogue. I'm called Joseph Ungol. I'm Assistant Commissioner in Wetlands Department. I've been tasked to chair this meeting. Thank you.
I'm Deo Kabaru. I'm a Principal Terms Officer in this ministry.
Hi everyone, I am Isaac Esset. I'm a Regional Coordinator with the Cross-Cultural Foundation of Uganda.
Yes, I'm Violet Cantono, Project Officer, Nature Uganda.
Good afternoon, I'm Joseph Judagaba, Curriculum Developer, National Curriculum Development Center.
Good afternoon, I'm Wilbert Ikila. I work with NEMA, Manage Environment Advocacy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Hamba. I work with teens at Makerere University.
Good afternoon. My name is Nebat Kasozi. I work with Total Energies.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Oliver Namremu. I work with the Wetlands Management Department.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Ofungi, member of Nature Uganda, but I also am a tour operator and I represent Climate Friendly Travel Uganda.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mutebi William, and I'm here representing Uganda Kingdom.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mubiru John Bosco, student at Makerere Biology, representing Totem Trails Africa together with the team from Buganda Kingdom.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lilian Kempango, Total Energies.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm Teddy Nabakoza Galiwango, Principal Environment Officer, the Kingdom of Uganda.
Good afternoon, everybody. They have already introduced me. I'm Mariam Mkalubo Mayanja, Minister, Buganda Kingdom, Water and Environment, and Bulungi Wansi.
Sandra Tumsime, I work with Nature Uganda.
Fiona Mwesige, I work with Nature Uganda.
Pasi Ahabwe, I work with Nature Uganda.
Felix Sime, I'm working with the Ministry of Water, Mbale, and I'm also a member of Nature Uganda.
Okay.
I'm Kod Wanyama Wilberforce from Ministry of Water and Environment.
Maybe we get feedback from online participants. Are we audible? Are you hearing us? Or you are not? Can somebody online give us feedback? Are they with us?
Good afternoon, members.
Are you hearing us? Okay. So what do? We continue? Okay. Next item on the program is the welcome remarks. This is supposed to be done by the ED, Nature Uganda. Thank you.
But I'm representing the ED of Nature Uganda. I'm a senior program manager at Nature Uganda. I want to take this opportunity to welcome the physical attendees and also welcome the online attendees to this dialogue. Nature Uganda is a non-government organization that has been working in the conservation space for over 100 years in Uganda. And we do biodiversity. Our work revolves around biodiversity research and monitoring, conservation of sites and species, including community livelihood interventions. We also do public awareness and education, policy and advocacy. I'll talk about who Nature Uganda is more at a later stage. But Nature Uganda has been working with Ministry of Water and Environment for a very long time, over 20 years. And we've been having this partnership that has led to several achievements, including a nation of Ramsar sites, which are wetlands of international importance. We have done work together to ensure that the wetlands that sustain a number of livelihoods in our communities and in our country are restored and conserved. That is just briefly about who we are as Nature Uganda. And as I welcome you to this dialogue is being conducted as we prepare for the World Wetlands Day that's going to be commemorated on 2nd of February, which is Monday. And I call upon everyone to join and participate. It's important that we have this dialogue. This time around, we are looking at culture, wetlands and culture. How do we interact as cultural institutions? As we all have We are from different tribes with different culture. How are we using the different traditions that we do have to conserve the environment? Wetland conservation, forest conservation. So this dialogue is an interaction for us. Cultural institutions. We'll hear from Cross Culture Foundation. We are going to hear from private sector and CSOs so that we understand how are these different players working with the different communities and how are they integrating culture into conservation of wetlands and nature at large. I want to urge all the members present, let's be active, let's share and actively participate in this dialogue. I once again welcome you to the dialogue. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you. I'll begin by saying, the Honorable Minister from Buganda Kingdom, representative from all government ministries, departments, and agencies here, and those from CSOs, participants who are here and online. As already alluded to, each and every year on the 2nd of February, Uganda joins hands with the rest of the global community to celebrate World Wetlands Day. This is a day that we do reflect on the status of wetlands in the country, how we have to conserve them, their importance, and maybe lay strategies on how we should manage this. As already talked about by the previous speaker, this year's theme is on wetlands and traditional knowledge and celebrating cultural heritage. And that's why in our midst, we are having experts, those who have been interacting with wetlands from a cultural point of view. We would want to hear from them. And a number of activities have been lined up to celebrate this year's day, which shall be in NFA ground on the 2nd of February 2026. Maybe also I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to be present, those inside the hall and those online. We would request that that day don't just be online, be present in Bugolobi, and we celebrate the day. We shall be happy with your presence. This afternoon we are having a public dialogue organized to celebrate the day. The public dialogue has been, say, sponsored by Total Energies and Nature Uganda. Am I right? So can we clap for them? That's why you could have been wondering why is Nature Uganda giving a welcoming remark in the Ministry of Water and Environment. We are providing the venue, they are the ones who are providing the cash. Nature Uganda and Total Energy. So we love this kind of partnership. We want to be the convener, but we always cherish working with the partners. That's why we are all here and many are online, because together we can achieve much. Alone we cannot go far. We need all of you to help us manage. So allow me also acknowledge and appreciate those who have participated to the success of this dialogue through contributions they have made in various ways, and some are having presentations to make to us to enrich the day. Buganda Kingdom have been good that we're having two presentations from the kingdom towards the dialogue, which is very good. National Environment Management Authority, you cannot do anything in environment if they don't give you the authority. So we are happy that they are here with us, and we shall keep learning from them. Then Nature Uganda, and then the Cross Cultural Foundation of Uganda have been very instrumental in organizing the day, because they interact with these traditional groups in Uganda. They know them, they have worked with them, and what they do has helped us in planning and organizing the day. Of course, government ministries, departments, and agencies have been very useful. That's why we're having this dialogue, and we have a number of presenters going to present, and and we have many participants who are managed to put aside what they are doing, and they're here with all to listen to the presenters and to better the presentation through their input during discussions and reactions. We have participants online who have put aside what they are doing, and they are tuned into this dialogue ongoing to make sure that they appreciate the relationship between wetlands conservation and culture. Last but not least, let me also add my voice to participants that let's listen to the presentations, learn from the presentations, and let's give back feedback to the presentation, so that by the end of the day, we are all richer in knowledge about the interactions between wetlands and our different cultures. Thank you. I saw somebody coming. Can we know you briefly? Okay. We are going to the next item, which is a keynote address coming from Owachitibwa. How do you pronounce it? Mariam. No, me with my accent from upcountry may not be pronouncing it very well. But you are most welcome. The keynote address is on Is Culture the Last Hope for Wetlands Conservation in Uganda, a national perspective. You are most welcome, Owachitibwa.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Honorable leaders present here, representatives of government institutions and civil society, researchers, academia, and development partners, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from the Kingdom of Buganda, and most especially from our Kabaka and the Katikiro of Buganda. I'm honored to address this important dialogue on wetlands and traditional knowledge convened under the timely and meaningful cultural heritage. I extend my sincere appreciation to Nature Uganda and the Ministry of Water and Environment and other organizers for creating this space where science, culture, and conservation meet. There's a lot of science here, and culture, knowledge, and people in charge of conservation. In the Kingdom of Buganda, wetlands are not merely physical landscapes. They are living cultural spaces, sources of water, food, medicine, identity, and spiritual meaning. Our ancestors understood wetlands as part of ubutonde bw'ensi, the natural order that sustains life. Actually, our kingdom, Buganda Kingdom, is basically based on environment. I'll just give you an example of things we get out of the wetlands. Esubi. I think most of you here, you know esubi, spear grass. This spear grass normally is found in the wetlands. We use this spear grass to cover our huts in the palaces, our homes, our houses. And actually, you cannot have, like, if you have gone to Kasubi, that's why it is called the Kasubi, because the whole place is thatched with that spear grass. So we perish and we honor wetlands. And we have totems. Some of us, we have clans which are based on wetlands. I'll give an example of the Mamba clan. Mamba clan is what in English? Langfish. Those langfish are found in wetlands, plus other small animals. My totem is omusu, edible rat. You will not find edible rat in our farms and gardens. They normally exist in those swampy areas. So as a kingdom, we really perish the wetlands. And traditional wetlands were safeguarded through customary norms and taboos. Certain activities were restricted and squared sites were preserved and clan responsibilities were clearly defined. These practices were not written in policy documents, yet they were effective systems of environmental governance. That's what I was saying about our totems. You heard about this tree along Masaka Road when they are constructing that new road. There was a tree called Nakaima, Nabukalu. It brought a lot of controversy, debating on should we remove the tree, and the Lugave clan people were saying no, that tree cannot be cut. But in essence, they were trying to preserve the environment by refusing and putting some taboos and norms against some of these things. You have had places when you go to fetch water, there are certain wells where you don't bring a saucepan which has soot on it. They were preserving those wells. The soot destroys the water. And they put some taboos and norms. You can't bring a saucepan which has soot, but they are preserving the wetland, the water in that well, keeping it clean. They could say even you are not supposed to go on that well when your feet are dirty. After gardening, you must clean your feet and then go and fetch water. It looks like a taboo or a norm, but when you look into it scientifically, they were trying to preserve these the waters. However, today we face a troubling reality. We have population pressure, pollution, unsustainable land use practices have weakened both our wetlands and the traditional knowledge system that once protected them. In some cases, cultural values have been dismissed as outdated, while modern development has proceeded without regard for ecological limits. This dialogue is therefore timely. It reminds us that traditional knowledge and modern science are not competitors, but complementary. Sustainable wetland management in Buganda and Uganda at large requires that we intentionally reconnect these two knowledge systems. And as the Kingdom of Buganda, we are committed to revitalizing cultural approaches to environmental stewardship through clan structures, cultural leaders, schools, and community institutions. We are promoting conservation through programs like Narubari Nekida, Bivewo. Bivewo is a Luganda name, but Narubari Nekida should exist. We have that program, and it actually concerns about collecting these plastic bottles and the buveras. And then we have Akachupanazo Sente, that these bottles can fetch some money. And this is a program we have introduced in the youth, and they are embracing it. They have liked it in one of our counties, Busiro. That's where we started together with the Rotary clubs in those areas. So Akachupanazo Center and then Ichibira Chakabaka, where we have planted so many trees, and especially along our Lake Victoria and along our wetlands which have been destroyed, like Rubiji. We planted some trees together with the Ministry of Water and Environment. We are also strengthening partnership with institutions such as NEMA, support community-led restoration, and influence national policy. So, ladies and gentlemen, wetlands are central to our climate resilience, public health, food security, and cultural identity. We grow a lot of food, different types of food in the wetlands, especially here in Buganda. And those are our traditional foods. And those foods actually, they are very good because we use them as food security. They are eaten during the dry seasons when we don't have so much food. We can go and get cassava, yams. Those are the types of foods we normally grow in the wetlands. And we talk with NEMA. We get some technical people from NEMA. They will tell you which crops or which plants are suitable for these wetlands. But for us in Buganda, our forefathers, I think they were scientists. They could know which crops to grow in the wetlands. We could not find trees, big trees like muafus being grown in the wetlands, but those simple yams. I therefore call upon all stakeholders present today to respect and integrate traditional knowledge in wetland conservation efforts, empower cultural institutions and local communities as legitimate environmental actors, strengthen collaboration between culture, science, and policy, and invest in education and intergenerational knowledge transfer. Let us all renew our collective commitment to protect wetlands for the present generation and for those yet to come. For God and my country, Sabasajja Kabaka Wangari.
Thank you. I believe all of us listened attentively to the keynote address. Or we are going to have a session later to give feedback. But now we are going to the plenary. We have 4 plenary presentations. So still within the kingdom, now we are going to have the first presentation on cultural heritage, traditional knowledge, and wetlands, Buganda Kingdom perspective. And we were supposed to be having another representative. Is she there? Okay. Yes. Teddy, you have the audience.
She has a copy on WhatsApp. Could you send it to him on WhatsApp? Okay, we can use that. I think it's the internet. Okay, I think now. Okay, once again, good afternoon to you all. Rotarian Teddy Nabakoza Galiwangu. And as I introduced myself earlier, I'm the Principal Environment Officer for the Kingdom of Buganda. Here today is to enlighten a little bit more. You notice that OHT was keynote address covered most of the perspectives I'm going to present here today, but I just want to expound more on what she was saying today on culture, heritage, and wetlands. Well, of course, the Kingdom of Uganda is one of the oldest cultural institutions in Africa. They say that it goes back to the 13th or 14th century. And our leadership is anchored with our king, the Kabaka, and the clan systems together with the Great Luchiko. I wanted to give you a perspective, a very good view of the Great Luchiko, and the Kabaka is seated right there. And of course, our Katikiro, the Prime Minister, oversees all the administrative work. So our clans are a vehicle for natural resource governance and environmental ethics, just like which were mentioned, that we are grounded in our clans, or what most of you call our totems. So here is an example. I particularly chose these animals because their habitats are in the wetlands. In other words, without wetlands, some of these totems, our clans, will not be existent, starting with Mamba clan. Having the name Galiwanga, I wouldn't miss that. My children are by Mamba clan. So Mamba clan, the habitat is wetlands, and then in Swaswa, which is the monitor lizard, it enjoys the wetlands. We also have bigger mammals, the hippopotamuses, that is Mvubu, and Njobe, the Satungas. So these are some of them, but you know that we have around the natural resource we have around that area within Ndeba, it will be very clear. I would have given a much better aerial view to see everything around it. So Etaka, which is land, Amazi, which is water, the forests, and the wetlands, they were regarded as communal assets that are entrusted to the living by the ancestors and preserved for future generations. Just like we always say, it is a belief that our ancestors helped us have these natural resources to support our livelihoods. And it is our role to take care of them and ensure that even the future generations will enjoy the same. Come up to the next slide, please. Just like Weshtiwa mentioned, we had sacred sites like Tanda. I don't know if any of you knows about Tanda. It is in Singo County. The royal forest, like Damula, that particular forest is believed, it's where we pick the stick, or what should I call it? What we call Damula. You know that stick that the king hands over to the Katikiro to give him the powers to become a Katikiro. That particular stick is gotten from a forest called Damula, meaning that without it, how will we transition our leadership to the incoming prime ministers that will come into the kingdom? So it's important to protect that forest. Protected wetlands are also symbolized as beliefs and nature to sustain the social order, health, and prosperity. So I put up that cycle to show we people in the middle as human, for our human well-beings, we are supported by water, we are supported by land, and we are supported by air. Please move to the next slide. So the traditional knowledge systems that are related to wetlands in Buganda, we look at it as something we need to use sustainably and ensure the generations to come will enjoy the same. For example, the seasonal water cycles, these are things that our ancestors understood so well. They didn't have these technologies that we have today to predict weather patterns. Look at the months of the year in Luganda, Gatonya. It means that it was perceived that in January, you would have some rain. There is Musenene, where we believe that in Senene, zijja kugwa. There is Mukulu Kusabitungo Tungo. There is Mukafumula Mpau, where it's believed that these ants that we call Mpau will be coming up. So you notice that they had a very deep connection when it comes to weather patterns, to these cycles, and they actually had to name the months of the year according to what was going to happen, according to the weather, according to which resources were in abundance. And of course, besides the seasonal patterns, the flood patterns, the ecosystem behaviors of different places, the sustainable way of fishing, harvesting, and grazing. Limiting certain ages not to do certain things, limiting certain genders not to do certain things, girls not being able to go into a certain forest, boys not being able to do something that was considered as taboos or norms, but then it was a very good limiting factor to ensure that all these resources are used sustainably and not degraded at once. Now, this knowledge was transmitted through elders, storytelling, ebyoto. We used to have ebyoto sitting around the fires. It was not only important for females, but also for the boys, mostly those that have come of age. They sit with their uncles, bakoja, and sengas, and such knowledge was always carried forward. Please move to the next slide. Okay. So the different importances of wetlands. Of course, I wrote down some of the wetlands that we have within Buganda region, starting with water purification. You can see in the pictorial, a child just fetched the water directly and put it direct to the mouth. So it is important to ensure that these wetlands, they have the integrity to be able to support the drinking of water directly. You see the different crafts that are made out of the wetlands, emikeka, ebibo, all these are traditional things. Ebibo were attached to how you prepare meals, how you serve meals, and these raw materials are gotten from wetlands. Now here, I'm sure many of you are focused there, the ritual, and that is Sezibwa. Yes. And not only Sezibwa, it's just that it is not brought out into the public. We have beliefs that many of these wetlands have homes or sacred places where these spirits stay. And one fact you should know is that even these names are named after what we call emisambwa or spirits. Rela wetland, there is a spirit called Rela. Sezibwa is considered a twin. It is a spirit. Mayanja is considered a twin. They will tell you Oyo Mulongo. And so in these places, there are particular places where it is believed that is their home. Now, if that place is taken away or destroyed, it means culturally we believe that there is a destabilization of the entire spirits, or because that is their habitat, honestly. And that is the belief. And of course, you can see the biodiversity, the birds there. Wetlands like Katonga are very good, with very good biodiversity. So there is tourism, there is trade currently, there is habitats for spiritual gods, crafts, medicines, and local medicines. Now, I'd like to share something with you. When it comes to the use of wetlands or natural resources in medicine, is that the Baganda had beliefs to use them not only in times where they are in good conditions. For example, you do know that there are times where wetlands catch fire naturally, the papyrus, and it burns down. In the Mamba clan, it was believed that once that happens, you pick the ashes and use them to make medicines for protection. That helps people understand that. Sorry. That would help people understand that even when a wetland is undergoing such a change, you have to continuously protect it and ensure that it replenishes. Please move to the next slide. Okay. So I can't ignore the current threats. Reason being, as the Kingdom of Buganda, you notice that the disasters that are happening due to negligence with the environment affect us firsthand. The issue of Chitezi happened right here in Chadondo County. Now the Kingdom has 18 counties, so I'm going to use that as Chadondo County. This is our bypass, and that is Lubiji. So why the Kingdom of Buganda is key when it comes to wetland protection? All these issues that come because we've misused the wetlands affect our people directly. And of course, the causes are still always the same: pollution, sand mining, informal settlements, and failure to observe the enforcement, and then governance gaps that happen with the enforcement of policies, climate change impacts, loss of traditional cultural safeguards, and so on and so forth. Please move to the next slide. Okay, so what has the kingdom done? The Kingdom of Uganda has a strategic plan. And in this strategic plan, we have programs, different programs that align to the different ministries. And in this case, we have the Ministry of Water, Environment, Bulungiwansi, and Gender, which is headed by Wechitiba Mariam Mayanja, present with us here today. So in this, we have different programs and projects which are supported by different partners. One is environmental leadership. I've explained our structures. Our structures go from the Masaza, which are the counties, Magombolora, the sub-counties, Miluka, which are the parishes, down to the village level. We have environmental councils, executives represented there, whereas the experts, but back and conserve our environment. Community mobilization, this is our strength. Community mobilization, this is our strength. Today, if you ask the Kingdom of Uganda to mobilize the youth, well, they'll be here. The women in general, they'll be here. The men, they'll be here. Because Buganda Kingdom, it is people. We are people. So when it comes to community mobilization, carrying on the message, we head at that. We use the Bataka. We use CB, the different structures that we have. I think you've seen it around in all regions. And we've participated in policies and framework. We are working with NEMA on the National Biodiversity Strategy. We've worked together. We actually have our own policies and frameworks as well that we are developing. For example, on the previous World Environment Day, we launched the clean energy that you actually know that this is what we are doing. You can see the Katikiro and Wechitibwa telling us to grow more trees. The youth, this was a youth training or dialogue with the youth in Uganda Environment Week. We're together with NEMA. These are traditional healers. The people, most of people perceive them wrong as witchcraft, bad people. No, but these are traditional healers. And we have them. That was Buganda Water Day. They were there because they need water. They need wetlands. You notice that, I don't know if you've heard about Mumbwa, what pregnant women take. We need that clay, it's a preservative to hold those herbs that we give the people, and we get it from wetlands. So explaining to a cultural leader, a cultural healer, traditional healer, you don't even have to explain. They get the medicines from there. They need the clay to preserve the herbs. So it is very evident. This is Honorable Nankabira with the WHT. We're launching Chuse Mfumbayo. That is our clean energy program that we launched. This is the Kachupa Nazo Center for the youth. And of course, we are always on media. There we are in Sembabule on Babule FM, still preaching the same word, preserve the environment and keep the integrity. Please proceed. So what are the opportunities? We would really want to collaborate. What are the opportunities that we have as the Kingdom of Uganda? One, we need to look at our land tenure governance. The Kingdom of Uganda, why we call our Kabaka Sabataka, over Land Road, if you are to say that. Through Buganda Land Board, we have people, I don't know which word to use exactly. People. So this means that we are capable of using that system to tell people near or closer to the wetlands how to behave, what to do, how to farm, because this can always be a condition under which we renew the Bibanja as they come in annually. We are good at policy advocacy that I've already mentioned. I've shown you that. We'd want to carry on and have more partnerships and collaborations because together we are stronger, just like what Tiwa said. And would also want to go ahead and participate so much in research. I've seen academia around. That is good to know. And then, of course, in resource mobilization, because all these need resources to be implemented. Yes. So the key message for World Wetlands Day from us is wetlands are cultural heritage. It's not idle land. Traditional knowledge strengthens modern conservation, so they need to move hand in hand. We cannot ignore it and then move on the side of science and ignore it. And then cultural institutions are strategic actors in wetland governance. I've stated that already, and sustainable features require cultural continuity. As you can see, this is our Queen Nabageka planting a tree, the Kabaka, and then Katikiro observing mats and different crafts. Okay, as I conclude, our culture offers a tested, people-centered conservation approaches that have been there since the 13th century. It's not a try and error. There are things that we know have worked that we can expound on. And so revitalizing traditional knowledge is very essential for wetland sustainability. Oshtiwa mentioned that. and cultural institutions must be recognized partners in policy and practice at all levels. I insist at all levels, planning, even at planning phase. Don't just invite us when it's time to implement and you want to come into the communities. You also want to be part of the planning phase. And protecting wetlands is protecting heritage, health, and identity. Ssaabasajja Kabaka Wangale, thank you so much.
For the elaborate presentation she made to us. We are a bit behind schedule. So those who I'm going to call you, make sure you work within the time allotted to you so that we end in time. We delayed the start because of the problem we had with the technology we are using. So that was from the kingdom. Now we are going to the second presentation, which is on integrating traditional knowledge in wetland and nature conservation. Is the ED Cross Cultural Foundation Uganda in representation going to present to us how do we integrate traditional knowledge in wetlands and nature conservation. You write down the issues you need clarification on, or what you need, the questions you have, and time will be given to you to ask the presenters, and they will respond to you. Edie, you are welcome.
So I have 15 minutes. I'm just going to spend 2 minutes sharing about a network that I lead, a global network, because what we are doing, what we are sharing here today is very important that the other part of the world is able to hear, because this network that I work for, the Climate Heritage Network, is a global network of over 500 members globally. This network was conceived in San Francisco in the US in 2018, and it was officially launched in Scotland with support from UNESCO. The network is to mobilize all cultural actors working at the intersection between culture and climate change. What we're trying to do is to harness the power of culture in climate action. The network today, we only work with institutions, not individuals, with institutions, and it was first hosted in Paris by the International Council for Monuments and Sites. The secretariat was taken to South Africa by the African World Heritage Fund. Now it is hosted in Uganda. So if you're looking for any institution that's able to mobilize cultural actors, then the Climate Heritage Network is very important. The Cross Cultural Foundation of Uganda is a member, and it is the one hosting. So it's very important to use this network to mobilize social actors. For example, those using music and dance to mobilize cultural actors, this is a very important network to use. For example, in Buganda Kingdom, we usually plant the bark tree. It is for cultural reasons, but the bark tree also helps in climate action. That is why to bring all those actors together, it's very important that we use this network. Apparently, we have 2 projects funded by the Mellon Foundation, but the 2 are very important for the topic we are discussing today. One is called Heritage Adapt to Climate Action. It's a global network, a global project, but usually supporting governments on global goals and adaptation. Then we have the other is Race to Resilient Culture, led by one of our partners, ICLAI, that is a local government for sustainability, headquartered in South Africa, and is the one leading that. That what can African cities learn from the matching cities in North America and those in Africa? What are those things that cities in Africa can learn from North America? So they are matching cities. So that's a network. It has had some achievements so far. One, those who participated in COP28, in the Arab Emirates, there was an Emirates Declaration on Culture-Based Climate Action. So that's one of the achievements. Then we also have Group of Friends of Culture-Based Climate Action. It brings together ministers of ministers of culture of over 60 countries. And also we are now advocating for a single goal solely on culture from the 17 goals of the SDGs that you're aware of. So in case you want more information, you can just visit our website, the Climate Heritage Network. So going back to my presentation, because I have 15 minutes, I've used about 3, then my presentation is not long as such. So first of all, to understand what is traditional knowledge, we reached out to the ED NEMA. We had a very good engagement with the NEMA, but he insists that for us to roll out these indigenous knowledge systems, we need to validate. So together we are working to see how we can have an MOU on validating indigenous knowledge. He says, for us to roll it out, we need to validate. I'm happy that the advocacy manager is here, and we want to see how we can roll out, how we can validate this knowledge, indigenous knowledge system, because he insisted that we cannot roll them out or advocate them unless we first test them, comparing the science and culture. So what is indigenous knowledge? Indigenous knowledge is usually cumulative, context-specific knowledge developed and passed over generations. If you don't pass over, it means it dies. So it's always very important that you pass over this knowledge. If it is maybe making maths, you should be able to pass it over. Usually it includes beliefs, practices, taboos, rituals, and customary laws. And they are linked usually to livelihoods, identity, and spirituality. Next. So what are the mechanisms that we usually use? 1, totemic species. Why do we usually use them? To protect through belief systems. We usually have sacred sites for restricted access. We usually have taboos to avoid over-harvesting or pollution. This has been highlighted by previous speakers. Then we also have ritual calendars. This is to promote seasonal use of cultural resources. Next. So some of the projects that we have that align to the theme that we're discussing today, with support from ACAS Foundation, CCFU has been able to protect chimpanzees and their habitats, and most of their habitats are usually in wetlands. So we have been able to map which are those clans that use chimpanzees as their totem. So we're able to map Dabatanji communities and clans in Kasese, Winyangabo, that's where we are very, very active. Then Kagadi, Kawoya, that is Chikube, and Kasambia. So that's where we are conserving chimpanzees using a cultural approach, using them as assets. What are some of the activities that we do there? Planting indigenous trees, such that the ones that are that chimpanzees always like. We also promote intergenerational dialogue and creating awareness through games and sports, such that we're able to disseminate this knowledge. Another initiative that we have with the British Council is in Wanglei. You're able to see Wanglei. Those who know the story of Gipira and Labong, this is their separation area and approach. So with the British Council, we're able to conserve this area with, as you know that in 2020 we experienced overflow of River Nile, and it was washing this heritage site. So with the British Council, we are being able to do gabions. This is how we started with British Council, because it was washing away this heritage site. Maybe the next one. And we were able to build gabion boxes to conserve this heritage site. As you're just going to Pakwach, just the area you see this side, it also comes with challenges of conserving it. Where it is, it was land for the railway. After the railway, there is the Tour Guides Association, there is Paco government. All of them are competing over the place, so governance becomes complicated, but we are trying to bring them together. The other initiative that within the Cross-Cultural Foundation of Uganda, what we were able to do with UNESCO again was a research in Sezibwa and Panyemur in Pakwach. So it was a research you're able to get that the publication on our website. You just go to resources, and says what tradition deters communities from killing animals and cutting vegetations in and along the river. That was already said. And also in the falls, the traditional worship and touristic functions coexist and foster respect for environment. That's what we also that was one of the findings. I should be able to share these findings with the kingdom. In Panyamur, we are able to notice that that the places that were reserved sacred places, fishing was prohibited. These spaces served as breeding grounds. That was the wisdom that the chiefdom had, that we need to reserve a place for breeding. So, and they also assigned traditional leaders or local leaders to enforce, making sure that nobody is able to harvest fish from there. And also they also believe that if you unlawfully encroach the area, the ancestors will always punish you. That is the belief that has been always there. So, but we also have challenges in what we are doing in integrating indigenous knowledge in conservation. One, with modernization, we are seeing that traditional knowledge is being lost. Documentation is also a gap that we need to researchers, education institutions, if we're able to publish and put this in our archives, so we're able to retrieve this information, is very, very important. Intergenerational disconnect. Generation X is Generation Alpha as we cannot collaborate together. That intergenerational dialogue is very, very important. But also, when it comes to water resources, there is also a challenge with power imbalances between the state and the community systems. The state actors always want to dominate, which is, I think it is, the issue should be collaboration, not dominating. Also, we see that weak recognition of cultural institutions in formal policy in some areas, and also the increased drive for economic gains in wetlands. Pathways for integration, I've already highlighted most of this. We want to see partnerships, community-led. Then also, he might be saying, you're talking all this, what is the legal basis? The number of frameworks that are in place, the Uganda National Cultural Policy, which recognizes culture as a driver to sustainable development and protection and transmission of indigenous knowledge systems. All this is recognized there. The other is the Constitution gives us the right to culture and similar rights, and mandates protection of cultural institutions and practices. International frameworks, we have the 2003 UNESCO Convention on Safeguarding Intangible Cultural Heritage, and the Paris Agreement also talks about adaptation and indigenous knowledge. The next. Key takeaways, as I conclude, we notice that as the Cross-Cultural Foundation of Uganda, we say that traditional knowledge is not outdated. It is just context-specific science. What works in Kabale doesn't work in Karamoja. These are what works for Karamoja, it's the Karamojans who know it better. Cultural institutions are conservation actors, not stakeholders. It's really important that recognize cultural institutions as actors, not only just actors, as stakeholders. Another takeaway is integrating culture strengthens sustainability, legitimacy, and resilience. Therefore, conservation must be people-centered and culturally grounded. So that is the end of my presentation. If you want to get connected with me, those are my contacts. And thank you very much.
So far, so good. I believe participants online, you are taking down issues you would wish or additions you want to add to their presentations. Time is coming where we shall open up to you and we shall welcome you to give in. We ask you to take down the notes and wait for that time to come. We are going marathon. The next is a presentation which is going to come from Nature Uganda on community-led wetland conservation, harnessing traditional knowledge for sustainable management. Nature Uganda's experience. Nature Uganda is presenting the experience. You can tell it with yours, or you can borrow it and begin also using it as part of your curriculum in the future. Okay, Nature Uganda.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Are we okay? Some people don't seem to be okay. Are we okay? Backbenchers? Are we okay? Once again, I'm called Anke Barahukwa. Sorry for a few technical glitches, but I'll go ahead and start presenting about who Nature Uganda is, what we do. Michael? It's coming. Uganda is a leading conservation NGO, non-government organization, that has been in existence for over 100 years. And as Nature Uganda, we do our work. We do our work around sites conservation, habitat conservation, species conservation. So what I'm going to share our experience and how we incorporate culture and traditional knowledge as we're doing our work. And when I talk about ecosystems or habitats, I believe most of us here are scientists, but I trust over the audience, not everyone is a scientist. On the online systems are, but I'll use the basic language of giving examples of wetlands, forests. We all know what wetlands and forests are. Those are some of the key ecosystems that anchor the livelihood of our community. We find that when you go back to our villages, most of the people depend on wetlands to get resources such as water, to get grasses, mats, and the OHT gave examples of the spear grass that people use for thatching, and when you go back to the village, most of these are still thatching their houses. So in today's discussion, you're looking at community-led wetland conservation. How are we harnessing traditional knowledge for sustainable management as Nature Uganda? Nature Uganda, our mission is to promote, you can first go back, promote the understanding, appreciation, and so what we always do is that we promote the understanding. If you do not understand something, you're not able to appreciate its value for you to conserve it. So all our work aims at promoting the understanding, appreciation, and conservation of nature. Next. Like I did mention, our work revolves around species, sites, habitat conservation, and we work with people to achieve this. And part of our work, we do biodiversity research and monitoring, where we look at both biodiversity, then we also do monitoring of some of the species that you're going to see ahead. Then we do conservation of sites and species, and including community livelihood interventions. We also do a lot of public awareness and education. As a membership organization, we have our membership officer is here, but we are a membership organization with over 3,000 members, which is a platform that has knowledge and information regarding nature conservation and restoration. We also do a lot of work around policy and advocacy. We're one of the lead people that advocated for the Save Mavira. So for you to be able to advocate or improve policy, you have to generate information that is going to inform these policies. What have we done around wetland conservation as Nature Uganda? Like I did mention, when we do biodiversity assessments, these assessments help us to understand what are the species, or what do we have for us to protect? What do we have for us to protect? Because you cannot protect what you don't have. For example, taking an example of Lubiji wetland, where recently we had people evacuated. We had to do assessments and understand what species are there. What are we going to lose if people completely degrade such a site? So when we do these assessments, they inform us how many birds do we have, how many plant species do we have, and it gives us, we get indicator species to understand, are these ecosystems healthy or are we losing it? Then the information that we generate helps us designate Ramsar site. We work with Ministry of Water and Environment. Currently, Uganda has 10 Ramsar sites that are designated, with 2 that are still in the pipeline. But of those, Nature Uganda has helped generate information to site profile these sites. Then we are supporting wetland management planning, where we are working with communities. We develop community-based wetland management plans. And this where you develop community-based wetland management plans, when you have to use a bottom-up approach. So you need to understand how are the communities using the wetlands, attachment, the traditions related to the wetlands. Then you can come up with a plan that speaks to the community. We are also supporting site species action planning, where we have an example of the shoebill stork and the gray-crowned crane. These are some of the species that have cultural attachments to them. Then we also support wetland restoration. Those are just some of the pictures showing you some of the work that we are doing. Up there we have the biodiversity team that takes lead on the assessments. And we have NIBS sites with some of the species, some of the restoration work ongoing. That bird in the middle is the shoebill stork. Waganda call it bulwe. Bulre, yes, I think. And these are great crown cranes. Next. So as Nature Uganda, we are doing these, as we've done assessments, the different assessments, but where you see the Nature Uganda logo, that shows you where we have done work as Nature Uganda. So we have spread our work across the country. What does this also imply? That we have been able to generate information on biodiversity, on people, and understanding how are these people using these different wetlands. So that shows us if we want to continue, if we want to probably go to Lira, we have information on how Ajumani are using their wetlands. So with this information, it helps us in doing conservation. These are some of the species that we do conserve. So we have annually, go back. Annually, we have where we collect data that we have generated from these surveys, or handcraft materials that they are largely dependent on. You use that information to educate them on the detrimental impacts of them degrading their wetlands. And we involve all people. We use the youth. We use public talk. So we speak to the different people. We speak to communities. We speak to the educated. So at all levels, we are doing community education and awareness. And for example, when you look at Bulungi Bwansi, when we are doing sensitization, we break down, if you see an example of having a Clean My Wetland campaign, that is one of the schools that we're working with. So if you educate, we believe that if you educate the children, they'll be able to push on this information back to their homes, and they will start adopting the better practices. Then we also have learning membership events. We do not only work with communities at local level, but even the educated, I would say, not everyone knows what conservation is all about. So when you give them exposure and they visit the different sites, then they understand the value of the wetlands. Next. And as Nature Uganda, we support livelihood options when we are doing our conservation work, because from our research, we understand that communities are dependent on these ecosystems such as wetlands and forests, not because they choose to, but because they have no other option. So if you want to lessen the dependence on wetlands, you need to go and do a socioeconomic survey and understand what are they using the wetland for. If they are doing activities that are leading to the depletion of the wetland, what alternatives do you have to give them? So it is key to understand how are they using the wetland, and you come up with a solution that works for them, other than come up with a white elephant project that does not speak to their needs. Then also our work supports national and international work. For example, I talked of designation of Ramsar sites. So when we do site profiling, we generate information that helps us designate key biodiversity areas and Ramsar sites that benefit the international community and the national community. What is the role of traditional knowledge in conservation? We've had examples from Buganda Kingdom. The sacred sites serve as refuge sites and they safeguard habitats. We have existing taboos. For example, at Musambwa, there is a taboo against killing the cobras or harvesting the eggs of the birds on the island. And in Bugungu, there are some of the wetlands where seasonal fishing is banned. So when you have taboos and norms such as those, they help us use these resources sustainably. Then cultural revival. So when we do knowledge, attitudes and practice survey, socioeconomic surveys, these help us to document the indigenous ecological knowledge, because in these exercises or in these surveys, we have the communities map out which ones are the sacred sites, which ones are like indigenous species. If you want to do an agroforestry project, if you know there are indigenous species that have cultural attachment, then you'll promote those because they'll be able to sustain and look after them. Then if you have sacred sites, if for example you have a wetland and they say in this corner of the wetland, we have our God here. So when you're coming up with interventions, you're able to save some of the sacred sites, but also in the end, they'll benefit both the people and the biodiversity. Then policy impact. So we have communities come up with ordinances, and this helps. These are like local laws or rules. They say maybe you're meant to go to the wetland only in this period, something like that. So those help. These local ordinances, we use them to incorporate information into legal support or implementing the different acts at hand. Then it is important that we blend the indigenous customs with science-based methods to produce better conservation outcomes. I'm going to give a case study of Musambwa Island. I think we all know what a Musambwa is. Do you all know what a Musambwa is? So a Musambwa is a spirit, or I don't want to call it a ghost, but it's a spirit. And Musambwa Island is a designated Ramsar site that is a wetland of international importance. But the local people there, so Musambwa is named after a local spirit, and they believe that this local spirit is female and it's jealous of women. So when you go to this island, a woman, you're not allowed to sleep on the island. Those are like some of the forbidden things to do. If you look at that small signpost, they tell you what you're expected to do or not to do. Respect all cultural rights and practices guided by the elders. So those are just some of the things, but also on this island, so in the early 90s, this spirit, the Musambwa, a couple went to Musambwa Island and they got drunk and they ended up having sex on the island. So this jealous spirit got so angry and there were huge turbulences that led to death, of the couple, and a lot was destroyed on the island. So the elders from that time said, no woman, they set the rules, no woman is meant to sleep over on this island, and no sex is meant to be had on this island. So it's not like it's only men that can go there. Also women, you can go there, but you have to go away. So, and this island also has rock cobras. So these rock cobras are termed as the spirits. So you're not allowed to kill a cobra. Even those that sleep on the island, when you find a snake under your bed, just sleep comfortably. So, they've become a kind of domesticated that people are living with the snakes and the birds. If you've never been to Musambwa Island, I urge you to go to Musambwa Island. It's very beautiful. It hosts over 200,000 birds. If you visited this site, you would love this site. So this is just an example of where we are integrating culture, traditions to conserve. But you also find that Musambwa Island is Africa's largest breeding site for great-headed gulls. So these are migrants, and we are having 16.5% of the global population of birds, of the great-headed gulls being hosted at Musambwa Island. So when you look at the culture and the norms, for example, you're forbidding sex. That is, you're limiting population growth on the island, because if the population increases, automatically the birds will have to go. So if you're looking at do not kill the snakes, so you're avoiding a scenario where you lose all the cobras. So that's how we are using culture, tradition to conserve key sites such as this. So at the end of the day, the people benefit, the communities benefit, because it's a key tourism area, so they make some money off tourism, and they make money off fishing. That is one of the examples. So what is the way forward? We need to scale up community partnerships. We need to understand that communities are the key people that save these ecosystems. At the end of the day, as the different organizations, we shall go to the communities, educate them, but we shall leave. So the communities stay there. So if we build partnership for sustainability actions, then we'll be able to achieve more in terms of biodiversity conservation, but also sustainable use of resources. We need to strengthen wetland user associations and wetland management committees. As Nature Uganda, as we work with communities around wetlands, we usually support financially, give them equipment, these wetland user association and wetland management committees, because they are the overseers of the wetland. Then we need to legally recognize custodians. For example, I'll give you an example of Musambwa. So the locals there are doing a great job of ensuring that site is saved for biodiversity to survive for a long time. Then we need to invest in livelihoods and awareness. Some of the people want to conserve the environment, but they have to focus on where they get the money from. So you need to come up with a livelihood beyond just conservation work. Let's support them to get alternative incomes. And then we need to strengthen locally based monitoring. This is one of the things that Nature Uganda does well. We do locally based monitoring where we train communities to monitor their ecosystem and know that there are changes. For example, if you went to Mabamba wetland is one of the wetlands that is still intact, but it is majorly conserved by community. Why? Because they understand the value of Mabamba wetland. It hosts the shoebill, and which is one of the species many people come to see in Uganda. So crane custodians, we have crane custodians. These ones monitor the gray crown cranes. We have joint wetlands patrol. These ones monitor who is illegally harvesting materials. Because at the end of the day, if you lose all the materials within your wetland, then you'll not be able to get the materials for making crafts and all that. Thank you for listening. These are some of the partners that we work with as Nature Uganda.
Thank you, Nature Uganda, for the wonderful presentation. I didn't know about the island. Now we are coming to the first presentation, and is going to come from a very unique partner that not only ensures we have vehicles which are running in good conditions. They have decided also to ensure that part of their responsibility to ensure that the environment is also protected. So we are going to have Total Energies talking to us on corporate partnership, supporting for the conservation, for culture and traditional heritage. But we must leave the Total to be, but the world is now coming where corporate organizations are coming concerns about climate change and environment. So a good example is Total is going to share with us their perspective. Let's listen to the presenter and issues which you want to inquire more also, and so on. You will have time to do that later. Thank you. Total, you have the
Yeah. Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Lilian Kempango. I'm the biodiversity engineer for forest and wetlands under Total Energies Biodiversity Program. And I'm here to take you through the presentation on corporate partnerships for wetland conservation, supporting biodiversity conservation for culture, and traditional benefits. So I know most of you must or might be knowing about Total Energies as a service provider for fuel for your cars, but also some of you might be knowing Total Energies because of the Tilenga project, which definitely has been in the media, both national and international, for the good and for the bad reasons. For the good reasons, you can put in the next slides. Yeah, for the good reasons, I know one of the point programs for NRM is that oil is one of the drivers. Oil is one of the vehicles for the social and economic development of Uganda, while for the bad reasons, we have environmentalists, climate change activists saying to Total Energies and its JVs as no, Total Energies must stop the exploration of oil and gas in the Albertine area. So anyway, back to the first slide. So Total Energies, as you all know, is implementing the Tilenga project on behalf of its JVs, which includes CNOC, UNOC, and CNOC, UNOC. And this is really one of the significant upstream petroleum venture in Uganda, which of course is located in the Albertine area, covering the areas of Lisa and Nyoa district, the north of the Albertine area. So it covers 3 production licenses. As you can see, the first production license, which is the Area 1 for Jubiri, Gunya and Injiri, and the other license 2 of Kasemene, Warindi and Chigogole and Dingara and Insoga, while the down production area is for CNOC, which is the Kingfisher project. So in totality, Total Energies expect to drill at least 426 petroleum wells across 31 well pads. And also really looking at the overall objective of the Tilenga project, we see it as being multifaceted, encompassing both the production targets, as we see for our social and economic development. We must produce more oil to be as a vehicle for economic development for our country. But also encompasses environmental stewardship, taking care of the environment where the Tilenga facilities are being developed. I've already talked about the economic benefits, but also the social responsibility. What comes up with implementing such a big project in an area where communities are already living, but also having negative environmental issues. Next. I need the next slide.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so let's proceed. So as we all know about the Tilenga project in the Albertine area, this is an activity that really involves immense activities, starting from exploration, from drilling, from development of the flow lines, among others. These activities are being implemented in one of the most ecologically rich area, which is the Marshall Falls National Park, and its surrounding areas. And this, some of these areas include the savanna habitats, the wetlands, the forest of Ugoma and Budongo, among others. We all know how important these areas are. So we have the Marshall Falls National Park, or one of the biggest tourism destination within Uganda, but also at Africa at large. And also the savanna habitats, where we have a number of animals, invasive species management, wetlands management, among others. And these really are broadly being developed both in collaboration with biodiversity program has one big goal or mission, which is really to ensure that the Marshall Falls protected area, where feasible, the surrounding landscape are left in a better condition than if the project has never occurred. This is really one of the most important things. But then the implementation, how does it go? Is it really feasible? Is one of the things that we actually do through our mitigation hierarchy of avoidance. If a project or if an activity has an impact, for instance, if it's passing through an ecological rich area, for instance, like the Ramza, can we avoid this place? Also on minimization, for instance, we have a very huge hectare of land in the beginning where all the well pads were supposed to be implemented. But because of this mitigation hierarchy, we had to reduce on the footprint. Now we have restoration and offsetting activities, which really also aim to address both the direct, indirect, and the cumulative impact. Next slide. So under the Tilenga Biodiversity Program, we have activities that are embedded or that are implemented under 4 pillars. One of the pillars is really looks at protecting priority biodiversity areas, including the Marshall Falls protected area. And really, this looks at broad actions to mitigate or reduce pressures within the park through enhanced protection. Then we have the second target, which also looks at the integrity of the savanna habitats of Bugungu Wildlife Reserve. We have Pillar 3, which looks at conserving and restoring forest and forest connectivity. Here we look at two major forests, that is the Bugoma and the Bugoma, but also the surrounding connective small forests of communities. And Pillar 4, which looks at conserving and restoring wetlands and the riparian vegetation. I think one of the reasons that we are here is our Pillar 4, which really looks at, can we go to the next slide? Which looks at building more resilient wetland ecosystems for biodiversity and people through community wetland user groups, but also in partnership with other conservation agencies. Why wetlands within the Ramza area? I've already told you about the impacts of the Ramza project. And some of these wetlands, we look at the wetlands of Bulisa district, but also a critical wetland of the Ramza. the Makshon Falls Albert Delta Ramsar site, where we are really working with Nature Uganda to implement conservation initiatives. So some of the approaches, we look at promoting sustainable wetland use, improving fresh water quality of the Tilenga project. Some of these activities have impacts that are directly affecting these wetlands. So we look at where, for instance, the flow lines are happening. Can we restore these areas? Can we ensure that the activities that we are doing do not affect the water quality? Or the communities that are around these wetlands, how can we work together? Because one of the indirect impacts that comes up when it comes to development of oil and gas is movements of people. So we see a lot of population pressure within this region. And when there is population pressure, you expect encroachment on some of these ecosystems. Next. So we expect encroachment on some of these ecosystems, and one of the areas where we've seen such happening is the Makshon Falls Albert Delta Ramsar site. And one of the activities that we are asked, Total Energies, you're doing this and this and this and this project, which is affecting the sort of issues or challenges happening around this Ramsar. One of the things is that this Ramsar it has like a migratory path for some of the global birds that are passing, and also and these are like more of the crucial breeding areas, not just for the indigenous fish species, but also for the birds such as the ground-crayed, the gray-crowned crane, the harpies, the shoebill, among others. So this is one of the wetlands that really needs to be conserved and should at any point not be impacted by the activities of the Tilenga project. So so we were able to implement a partnership program together with Ministry of Water and Environment, but also with Nature Uganda, which looks at finding strategies, but also improving the management plan for the Ramsar, where these action plans are not existing, or where challenges such as wetland encroachment is high, boundaries are not being defined, the wetland boundaries for the Ramsar is not being defined, etc. And this is really one of the actions that made us to have this partnership with Nature Uganda. Next. So our goal is really simple, based on the challenges that are already happening within the Ramsar. The Ramsar does not have an updated management plan. This is a plan that expired 5 years ago. So this plan needs to be updated. And we know that a plan is one of the vehicles really for sustainable management of the wetlands, because with this management plan, it stipulates the different activities or interventions that should be implemented by different partners to ensure that this wetland is conserved and serves the ecosystem services both to the communities around these wetlands, but also to the environment. We all know the values we've seen and heard from the different previous speakers on what wetlands provide to the communities, things that I'm not going to go through. So this project really is broad. You see, this is the map of the Ramsar site. So we look at first updating its management plan, but also looking at sustainable planning and management. First of all, setting the structures, the governance structures for wetlands, having the wetland management groups, the wetland user groups, among others. Promoting collaborative restoration of the degraded patches of the Ramsar site, where the Ramsar is being degraded, can we work with the communities and other institutions to ensure that these Ramsar started, the project started last year. We already have is this Ramsar site, and how better can we is this Ramsar site, and how better can we manage it? The recent activity that was that we manage it. The recent activity that was finalized last year was the management plan, which I've already talked about as being a very vital tool, a planning tool for the management of the wetlands. And we believe that in the next month, probably, we shall be launching this plan and also having preceding activities, including the restoration of the degraded patches where we have these wetland areas, hotspots already being defined and prioritized for restoration, and also further training, capacity building for the communities, but also for the district local government. Next. So not only are we working on the Ramsar, we are also looking at the wetlands outside the project area. And these are the wetlands of Bulisa district. This is one of the big projects that is coming up, which includes, which is the demarcation of the floodplains, streams and wetlands of Bulisa. One of the issues that we've been getting as Total Energies is the increasing floods that are affecting communities, those close to the Telenga facilities, but also those that are away. And the impacts of these floods mostly necessitate Total Energies together with PAU to compensate these people. But one of the issues is that communities just most times are very speculative. If they see a project coming up here, the next day, if the facility is being constructed here, the next day, if that facility is close to, for instance, if it's close to a wetland or if it's close to a floodplain, they'll come and cultivate crops there. And once it rains, they will ask for compensation. And this is not sustainable for Total Energy. So we reached out to Ministry of Water and Environment, and we're asking what is one of the sustainable measure for us to do really to reduce compensation. And one of the things was to update the Wetland Gazette, but that comes with identifying, delineating, and demarcating some of these activities. So in the upcoming project, we shall see the demarcation of at least 100 kilometers of these areas, so as for us to be able to avoid such challenges. So in conclusion, I would like to say that Total Energies today is presenting as one of the private sector, but we also have very many other private sector firms and companies that are already implementing or doing other infrastructure activities in wetlands that are besides or that are out of the, that probably some of these ecosystems. And to us, Total Energies, we do not look at this as more of a moral obligation, of which most times they say it's, I know it should be part of the social corporate responsibility. No, but we look at it as a way of protecting biodiversity, ensuring that our activities do not really affect these critical ecosystems that are very important to the communities and to the societies at large. So moving forward, there is need to have a holistic approach whereby these firms of private sector companies are not just working individually, but also looking at a way how they could collaborate with each other and look at how they can harness the different efforts in ensuring that they do not affect or harm the areas where they are implementing activities. As TAPU, we remain committed to working with various entities, including Nature Uganda and others, on implementing activities that are that align just with not only to the national commitments on environmental conservation, but also on other aspects that socially harness community livelihoods, and keep the integrity of these ecosystems. Thank you.
How many of us knew that Total Energies was doing what we have had? You are seeing the importance of the dialogue. It has opened our horizon from what we used to think. When you want diesel, petrol, or engine oil, go to Total. But now we are seeing that even in conservation, they are part of us. Thank you, Total, for that. Now, I want us to be here for 15 minutes. I'm requesting the next presenter to combine the plenary and discussions, and we obtain input from participants. They have been quiet for quite a long time. One time we went to a meeting, and after we have talked, an old man stood up and said, but now all of you talk good things. Yours was good, this was good, ours was good, but now, among them now, we don't know which one to. Because I don't want participants to lose track of what was said by who, because there are many presenters. So, let's say, what you do, you have us obtain input from online participants, input from people who are here, and then we have the presenters respond, then you will wrap up. Is it okay that way? It's fine. Okay, thank you. Maybe you do it by show of hand. If you are online, you put up your hand, we start with them.
I can talk from here. Yes, I'm going to use the registration. I'm Deo Kabaru, the Principal Wetlands Officer. We have heard from the co-presenters, all talking about traditional knowledge systems, but in different sectors. I will start from you who are here. If you have any subtraction or addition, before you do the wrap-up, you raise it to the, you can start from OH and then to, yes, one. Do you have a second person here? Apart from him? You put up your hand properly. Yes. You have 2, 3. I think we can start from him. Yes.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the ministry for organizing this dialogue. I'm Wilbert Ikila. I work with NEMA, Manage Environment Education and Advocacy. Now, following the presentation from the Kingdom and then OHTUA, and then the next 2 from CCF, that is the cultural the cross-cultural foundation and the Nature Uganda, you realize that they are all communicating almost the same thing. It is all geared towards enhancing, using the cultural knowledge in conservation of the environment. But then you see the best practices coming out in their presentations. And I have a feeling now that what if we said that based on the best practices from the cultural institution that we've seen in Uganda, why don't we work towards bringing on board all other cultural institutions in the country to be part of the conservation process? Why am I saying this? One, they have the structures in the communities. 2, people believe in these institutions. 3, they are the beneficiaries. They actually know that they are the beneficiaries of the resources within the wetlands. And I have a feeling if we use that approach, we shall succeed in conserving our wetlands in this country. Two, when you look at the issue of continuity, already the Cross-Cultural Foundation said that there's a need to pass over to other generation. I quoted that. But also the same thing with the Buganda Kingdom, they were saying opportunities. What are the opportunities? Now, you really see that currently Uganda, the population of Uganda is about the young people in Uganda, the population is about 68 to 70%, people below the age of 30 years. And these are the stewards of the environment in the next few years. Now, when you look at the cultural knowledge and then the existence of these people, the young people are out completely. They do not understand anything to do with the cultural values. And yet they are the stewards of our wetlands in the future. What do we suggest here? We need to take the cultural knowledge to the education institutions so that the stewards will have the values inculcated into them. And that is why the opportunities for Buganda Kingdom is that they have already the education institutions attached to them. And the same thing, all other institutions, the cultural institutions we have in the country are attached to certain education institutions. So I feel that could be one way to enhance and also conserve the environment in future. And then when you look at all the presentations, aspects of awareness are being emphasized. That means we all need to work towards enhancing awareness in conservation of wetlands in this country.
Call it Nalubale, something that we are right next door in the ministry, and obviously the results are because of industry down there. What are we doing? There's a lot of runoff. I have flown over the Lake Victoria, and even, but the lake has turned green right now as we speak. The only blue place, at least, is around Dolway or those other places, which is a very big shame, ministry. The other area I also represent is climate-friendly travel. It's a network that is nature positive, linked to children, linked to kids' education through fun. We have animations, books, and I'd like to impress upon our colleague Joseph, I think, from curriculum development, because why don't we nurture children from the time they are young? We add nature positive waste management into the curriculum, because what is happening is that we are getting a lot of waste, damage, garbage in our an irresponsible use of caveras here. We are using these bottles here. They are single use. But we, as part of nature positive, we need to be going away from that. We need to be using refillables, and that should start with the ministry. I also represent an advocate for Bugoma Forest. Why didn't Bugoma Forest, why wasn't it gazetted as a national park? Echuya was mentioned, there was Pianupe, there was a third one, but it is a shame that we are seeing what is happening in Bugoma Forest, because I was there in August. Chimpanzees, there is a lot of, what do you call it? The trees are being felled. Yet this is supposed to be an offset area for example, Kibale, the new airport, Kabale now, because it's going to, I mean, it doesn't make sense that we are not working, we are all working individually. For my colleague in climate heritage, I was quite impressed, but I've been to Panyamur, by the way, is my mother's village, but I've been to Sezibwa, and much as there's rituals going on, and people are observing the norms and cultures and giving their sacrifices, they are using kavera. You find them taking, I don't know, my husband has done, I need to give a bath, I know I want him back.
but she's taking, I don't know what they call them, these offerings they make in Kavera, and you find Kaveras all splintered around. What a big shame. Lastly, I've done some work with Total. When Total was doing their ESIA, I must say I was associated with the baseline survey on the tourism front. They're doing a great job, but still there is that eyesore of the big rigs in the national park. You don't want to see that when you are on a game drive. And I think the animals are running away because of that. But that said, Total has really mitigated and done a great job. Thank you so much. Webari nyo uichitibwa.
All right, thank you for this distinguished honor to address this august house. My name is Region Bosco, part of the team from Totem Trails Africa, here together with the team from Buganda Kingdom. Mine is to start with a commendation to the gentleman that highlighted the engagement of the young ones in this conservation sustainability. And with this, I want to challenge us to involve digital tools in our conservation practices. How best can we engage the young ones or the youth? It is by the use of digital tools, because most of them are actually engaged on digital platforms. So looking at digital platforms, it is where we thought of a brilliant idea of engaging them on the idea of games. Most of these are actually not so much into conservation because they are basically bored by how it's taught. How about if we brought a perspective that we can introduce to them conservation games? That's where we picked up the idea of Totem Trails, and we're still building it together with our comrades here. I'm grateful to listen in and blessed to be part of this cohort.
Yes, comrades, online you can raise. Can we get 2 people?
Thank you, and the presenters. Mine is a request for these engagements, and especially the second, to onboard more private sector. Why? Because of the threats. They're obvious. Most of our degradation is driven by commercialization. I'm happy Total is here and others, but we need to get more private sector on board, and we really talk these things when they are hearing the details. Also, to onboard politicians, because I'm on the ground, I'm working in Mbale, we are doing restoration on a number of wetlands, but our biggest challenges are the politicians, because you say this, technically it's backed, cultural leaders are supportive, the politicians come with their different stories, so we need to talk this with those people also, so that we get everyone on board. Thank you.
Yes, those online. Can we have 1 or 2? Hello? Matthew, do you have? No one? Yes, can we get that one?
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister of Water, for this engagement. My humble plea goes to the Minister of Water and Environment and NEMA. Some time back, they had embarked on a fight against Kavera. Kavera is among the components which are destroying our wetlands in Uganda. I just pray to you, we bring back the strategies which we had started earlier on. We bring laws, policies, and regulations against Kavera such that our wetlands can live healthy. I think it will help us. I'm John Ernest Rubura from Nakaseke District Environmental Officer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rubura. We can have a second one if he's there.
Okay, thank you. I did not introduce myself. I'm sorry to intervene. There are some questions I'm supposed to ask like a media person, but I will need to address them to you because I will just say them. I'm not loud. Okay. I'll just say them on TV, but if at all I have not addressed them to you, they will not sink in you. Okay, I'm Deborah Namamonde. I work with UBC TV. There are I have like 4 issues. I think Owechitiwa talked about the issue of the growing population. I don't know whether you people, you are trying to see that, though the population is increasing, but how are you educating people in regarding to how they can conserve the environment with the growing population? Because the land is not increasing, the waters are not increasing, the lakes and the what, but the population is growing. How are you people addressing that issue? Then another thing he was trying to talk about to tackle it is about the internet. I don't know how you people, you've engaged the internet, because right now everything you can see, every now and then people are posting, people are doing this on the internet. Are we trying to use the internet to educate people about what is the use of these wetlands? Because if at all someone is seeing a wetland somewhere, then he or she admires how that wetland looks on the internet, that person will have that in his or her mind that I will not encroach on this wetland because it is useful in one way or the other. Are you trying to look at that angle? Because we shall talk things here, but the environment, the society is moving in regards to internet. Then another thing is about, I think it is going to NEMA, because most times if we cover stories in regarding to wetlands, encroaching and what, you always find big figures encroaching on those wetlands. Are you talking about that issue, or you are just talking about things which can be done easily? Because you can find someone getting a lot of soil, pouring it in a wetland to construct an industry or to construct a house. Sometimes I always ask NEMA that, are you playing your role? If someone is to construct a house, that person is supposed to be approved by the planning, physical planning and sort of. Are you doing your work before we go to these other issues? I think another issue is about, do we think it is very important to amend the laws which are in regarding to how we can control our wetlands or our natural resources? Do you think it is important that we should amend these laws so that people can get to know that this is supposed to be done? All the laws we have, they are not playing what they are supposed to do. Because if a law is not doing its work, it means it is redundant. So I think with all that said, I beg to submit. Thank you.
Those are good questions. Can we get one online? If you have one person. Yes. Of wetlands. That's what we are discussing. How effective the tradition and indigenous knowledge in restoring wetlands. Let me get him, then you, and we have a hand? Okay, after him.
Yes, thank you so much. Mine is in regard to engagement of the academia, because that's where I come from. Like I said, I come from the Regional Center of Urban Research, Governance and Innovation at Makerere University. But I think components to do with coordinated research sometimes are also lacking. And I think when you try to reach out to the private sector, you don't know who to go to exactly. So it becomes rather challenging to work with them, or probably it is easier to work with civil society because they respond easier. Their lines, management lines are quite easy to identify. So I think I could speak directly to Total if there are any opportunities of conducting research. Because Makerere University in the NDP4 is recognized as the coordinating entity for urban research since the urban agenda, the National Urban Research Agenda was created for the NDP4. So I wish that probably open up opportunities, as you say that there's a partnership opportunity or an opportunity for collaboration. So in research, I think that opportunity is available already at Makerere, so we could find a way of how we interlink this. The other thing is basically to do with building the skill capacities, knowledge and practical capacities of young people within the institutions, academic institutions. Because we know that we educate them, give them a lot of knowledge skills, but they're not able to practice because they probably at one point they're lacking somewhere. Even if you send them for internships or industrial training and all that, we may need to collaborate further to give opportunity in terms of practice and learning more, a little bit more. Thank you.
Even one online. Are you there? Online. Are you there, Monday?
Cosma, please. Hello.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Arho Cosma, a student from Makerere University pursuing Masters in Geographical Science. I'm actually very humbled for this evening session about restoration of wetlands. Actually, I happen to wish to conduct about the effectiveness of these strategies towards restoration of river systems, of wetlands. I'm really happy for this discussion. I actually wish that after this, if I can get direct contacts for people from Ministry of Water and Environment, I see how you can really help me do my research, because I want to see what is wrong, what is going on wrong. We see very many strategies have been put down, but still wetlands and river systems are continuing to face challenges here and there. So I want to look at how effective, what is wrong. I want to look on that gap. So I wish that I should be helped more after this session. I beg to stop here.
Okay, thank you, Cosma. Do you have a second one? Okay.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. I'm called Monday Gideon, and I work with NEMA. And I want to appreciate this dialogue. It has been so productive. And I would like also to supplement on what our colleagues have already mentioned. And particularly, I want to begin by talking about wetland degradation, the rate at which we are degrading the wetlands, and the rate at which we are trying to conserve them. Actually, degradation is much greater than the conservation. For instance, when we look at the pollution that we are making, when we look at the agriculture that is taking place in the wetlands, we have mining, we have wastewater discharge into the wetlands. All of these are quite alarming, and we need to step up to ensure that we counteract this rate of degradation. That's point number one. Then point number two, as one of the members has suggested, we have to use a holistic approach to ensure that all the stakeholders are brought on board. For instance, very pleased that we had Total Energies, because when you look at, for example, petrol stations that are operating across the country without oil intersectors, you see it is also contributing a lot to pollution of the wetlands. So we need to bring on board all the stakeholders, those who are responsible for degradation and those whom we think are very essential, especially in conservation. In our districts, for instance, in Kisoro, we have one of the groups of people who are called the indigenous people. That's the Pygmies. They are believed to be the custodians of the wetlands and the forests. And they do a lot of degradation because they are believed to be the major users of these wetlands and forests. And most of the conservation efforts have left these people not being considered. So it would be one of my humble requests that we also bring them on board in this in the conservation efforts, especially when we are looking at the livelihood for the people. We could also consider them because they entirely get almost everything from wetlands and also the forests.
Thank you.
Recently, there was a
Thank you,
concern about one of the colleagues who raised the law or NEMA not doing much in conserving the wetlands. And I wanted really to bring the point on board that we should appreciate the role that NEMA has played in conserving our environment, our wetlands inclusive. And I think we have even seen the official from Uganda Kingdom giving a testimony that NEMA has been really trying to do much in regard to wetland conservation. We are doing much and we are committed to doing much, but you have
Yes,
to
Gideon,
consider
thank you for your
wetland
submission.
conservation should be a role of everyone, not necessarily NEMA or the wetlands department alone. It should be a role of every Ugandan. And we have, of course, limited manpower. We have few regional offices across the country, and you have also to look at the manpower needs if we are to address this issue fully. So my colleague, be positive. NEMA, we are doing a lot, and we promise to continue doing a lot.
Yes, Gideon. Thank you for your submission. NEMA is doing a lot. We need all stakeholders on board. Yes, Matthew. Matthew, give us a Dale. And lastly, from curriculum here. Dale, Tumhaise.
Yes, thank you so much, colleagues and the presenters. I'm the Gracious Tumhaise, Wetlands Officer from Mbale region. For me, mine goes to the media. I think as we're celebrating this important day, we need to know what moves the needle. Now, like for the politicians, I have heard Ms. Olivia Namamondo of UBC. So, Ms. Namamonde, you have to think of how best we can package the cultural knowledge of environmental conservation and put it in line with the parish development model, because now this is what the politician needs to hear from us. So as conservationists, how is the cultural knowledge linking into our traditional, then our PDM? Then you'll have the politician buying your ear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all the presenters that made their communications. I'm Joseph from the Curriculum Center. My input would be that many people have recommended community awareness and education initiatives. The child in primary will write for you a very wonderful essay about wetlands, but will throw the cavera. So we ask ourselves, why does that happen? And I think one of the possible solutions is integrating what we have presented today, indigenous knowledge. That is an element that is missing in our education systems, but also many presentations have mentioned values. We can know all these beautiful things, but if you don't value what you're looking out for, everyone who's advocating for awareness and education, even us at the center, we're in the awareness campaign, education, value education, value.
So many interests. That is clear. Three, that wetlands existed before any of us. Lands existed before any of us. That is important to tell, as Africa, as the world, as Uganda. And we all say, the big question is the indigenous knowledge, the traditional systems, are they efficient to protect and restore our wetlands? Are we moving towards the real? Yes. Well, between these 40 years, we have been able to put a number of legal regimes. And you'll be able to see that all the regimes, the Constitution, the Land Act, the National Environment Act, the Tree Planting Act, and all other authorities we are using, they based on two areas, two issues. One is ownership. Who owns these wetlands? Then the second one is on access. So people looked at who to own, the way the West team were told us here, that people used to own Bibanja and so on, and then they had a lot of that. Then who owns? Then you say government, on that public doctrine that we own on behalf of what? On behalf of the people. But whose government? We have talked about those different steps. Buganda government, the Kabaka government, all those governments, we own it on behalf. Then we are saying that in these legal regimes, we are talking about the constitution and so on. It's about access. Access is around for community to come and harvest resources and be able to do so. So the constitution, the National Environment Act, and the regulation that are coming, especially the one of 2000, they are permitting some activities. And when you look at those activities, they are all tradition, what we call regulated activities. Tradition, harvesting of fish, harvesting of papyrus, harvesting of clay, collection of water, and so on. Tradition, meaning the traditional practices were able to protect wetlands and conserve them. Now the question is, in this changing environment, can still our cultural beliefs, the cultural values, and so on, and with the investment and the community actions, are we able to have this? The answer is yes. We are able to move, and that's why we are talking about the wise use. And the wise use is just a framework to have the principles clear that community taking up this action should be able to socially accept that activity. And that's what NEMA is using. If you come up with a project and the community, the adjacent community, they are not in conquer with it, then that is a bad project. Then the second one should be legally accepted. You are doing something which the law backs up. And that is the second principle for wise use. And then the third one is the location. If you want to do something good and you are putting this house into Kabakazi Lake in the middle, although you are saying we are going to get a lot of tourism and so on, but you want to construct it in the middle of Ruviji, then we say the location is not good. So you do it. So location is important, and that is the wise use. So the last one is collaborative. Everybody should be part. And I think you have overemphasized that in your presentation, that we need everybody on board to have this
Recording in progress.
work. So we are saying that those beliefs can still work as long as we consider the wise use principle, and we are able to move as a team. Then the last one is that are we watching as this degradation is going on? No. I've told you the trend. By 2008, we had lost wetlands from 15% of the Uganda coverage, which is here, to 8.9, intact one. Then after the efforts of restoration, you are going to talk what Totaro is talking about, other issues, restoring and so on, we managed to push this up to 9.3 intact. Currently, we are moving to 13 point something, that is wetlands coverage, but 9.3 intact. We are aware that we are losing wetlands by 2%. That is degradation. The rate is at 2%. But the rate of restoration is at 1%. Meaning the rate of degradation is higher than the one of what? Restoration. So where do we need manpower? In restoration. we need more effort to see that we restore using all means effective enforcement one, eviction by NEMA, the participatory one, which we are using as Ministry of Water, the participatory one, which Tibo has talked about, you are encouraging that side. Total, they are not evicting, but they are using participatory, and so on, so that we can have a match. Research shows that by 2040, if nothing is done, then we are going to lose everything, the wetlands we're having. So we are saying we need a concerted efforts to do the restoration using all approaches, including this traditional approach of the values of the cultures and so on, because it worked and can still work well, especially with wise use principle. Let me stop there. Then I hand you over to the chairperson to give us the call to action. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Let me give you what I learned when I was a student of evolution in 1997. And what I learned was that this world we live in has been around for 4.5 billion years. And in these years, we have got more than 5 mass extinctions. And the last one happened 250 million years ago. And they blame human beings for being the cause. You can go and read about the Triassic and Jurassic extinction. So a human being is not the first time we are messing with the world and calling for our own destruction. Population will continue to grow as it grew at that time. I believe they didn't listen the way we are not listening. They were questioning the way we are questioning today. But it wasn't good at the end. You can go and read in the evolutionary time scale what happened 250 million years ago during what we call the Triassic and Jurassic period. You will know that we are not the first people who is going to have problems with this Mother Earth. Okay, thank you. Then I would want to say that I'm grateful for everybody who contributed in person, who presented, who reacted to the presentation. Is there any presenter with something to respond to, which was directed to you? I think there was one on Kavera to NEMA. Though NEMA didn't present, but if you are an authority, wherever you are, your presence is always known that you are there. So they knew you were here, and there's a question for you about Kavera. But what I can say is, what I know is that there is a strategy on managing Kavera, which is in place, and NEMA is trying to tell us to follow what we call a circular model of production, where you keep waste within the production system and you eliminate as little as possible. And you recycle the ones you can recycle. They will talk better about what I know, that there is an effort, even there is a strategy in place, targeting management of Kavera, how we should encourage industries not to produce Kavera will end up in the environment easily. And one Tibo, I was honored to have your presence with us. And for those wise words of counsel, which it doesn't come from young people, it is elders like you who can give such words of wisdom. And for everybody who presented, and I would pray that you leave your presentations with the Secretariat, so that at the end of the day, all of us come to receive an updated or the copy which now contains all the presentations, so that we are able to learn from each organization what they are doing, and we enrich our knowledge. So thank you for those who stayed and the class was, we appreciate that. And sir, to Monday's event. Let's turn up early on Monday in National Forest Ground, and we celebrate wetlands. We have so many activities going on, and there's a lot of things you are going to learn. And when we are there, you will get new things. You will get to learn that in this Uganda here, we have people who are making efforts in protecting our environment, in protecting our wetlands. Before I adjourn the meeting, maybe, is it Kilai or am I going to talk about the Kavera issue? Okay. Can you give him the microphone in 1 minute? What are you doing?
Yeah, thank you so much. The issue of Kavera has always been asked several times in different engagements. But of course, as already the commissioner decided, one, we have a strategy in place. It's called the National Strategy for Promoting Plastic Circularity. It is between the period 2023 to 2028. And that strategy has key pillars. The key pillars are geared towards management of the Kavera. They include one, reuse, that is promote the reusable products, shift from the throwaway culture. In actual sense, they're encouraging us, say for example, we need to get to, say for example, if we are going to the markets, we need to have our own shopping bags that you can use more than one time. In actual sense, we're being discouraged from single-use plastics. You go and buy using a Kavera. Tomorrow in the afternoon, you're going again buy using a Kavera. And I think that's what the policy itself is discouraging. Then issues of recycle, strengthening recycling, market to make it more profitable and scalable, and then reorienting and diversifying. That is encouraging sustainable alternatives to plastic that reduce environment impact. I had in the car, I have a bag that I always use. I move with it every day. And this bag, if, for example, I'm going to do the shopping, I'm not going to pick any Kavera. Just go to the supermarket or any other shop, put my groceries in it. And if we all adopt that kind of thinking, then we should be in position to reduce the amount of Kavera. Of course, in most cases, people begin asking that, why don't you ban the Kavera from the source? How about if we said, why don't we begin cutting from the demand side? If, for example, there's no demand, I'm not going to use the Kavera to purchase the products. Don't you think if all of us started having that kind of initiatives, would be indirectly using what they call consumer sovereignty to cut off the supply of the Kavera? I know, of course, government procedures and policies, sometimes they take time, especially if we are talking about change, say, in the act itself, to ensure that we have total ban. Sometimes these procedures and processes take long. But meanwhile, we encourage behavioral change, and then from there, if we all take collective responsibility, then we can manage the Kavera. But also, as individuals, what have we done at your own level, beginning from the home level, and then you move to now the other institutional level? What have you done? Have we taught our children how to dispose? Have we taught our children segregation at the source? Those are all issues that we need to take up as a country, and when we do that, we should be able to manage the Kavera. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You reminded me of when I was in the So it's what they're saying about Cavera. So that there would be no problem if he got that stop creating. But the lesson was about behavioral change. Now, what we're remaining with now are two things only. I mean three. One, ensure that you have registered in the attendance register with your email, which can easily be read, and your telephone contact. Because if you are to share the documents with you, we need your email and telephone contact. That's number one. Then two, we have a evening tea, which is for all of us. And then I was told we need to take a group photograph. Who is taking it? We can do it here. Okay, we can have a group photograph as then we come and have tea, and then we depart at leisure. Thank you.